I love the Marx Brothers. When I was a kid, I rented Animal Crackers on VHS, and I transcribed Groucho's scene with Margaret Dumont and Margaret Irving so I could reenact it alone in my room. Because I was really cool. I didn't understand the jokes or much of the wordplay back then, but there's always been something about the rhythm of especially Groucho, but the brothers in general, that makes me laugh to this day. Samuel Frenchie Marx and Minnie, I'm mispronouncing this name, but I couldn't find a pronunciation anywhere. Minnie Schoenberg were married in 1884 and had 5 sons. Leonard Joseph Marx, Chico, Adolph Marx, Harpo, Julius Henry Marx, Groucho, Milton Marx, Gummo, and Herbert Manfred Marx, Zeppo. There was originally a 6th brother, the eldest son Manfred, or Manny, but he died at only 7 months old, likely a victim of the flu. Minnie Marx is credited by the brothers as being the driving force behind getting them into show business. She worked as their agent under the name Minnie Palmer, so the booking agents wouldn't know the Marx Brothers rep was their mother. She was a performer herself and cultivated the boys' musical talents that they would continue to showcase throughout the rest of their careers. In fact, the brothers started as a musical act. Allegedly, in 1912, during one of their performances, there was a commotion outside of the theater, and the entire audience got up and left to see what was going on. When they eventually returned, Groucho was so annoyed he started, being Groucho, and instead of getting angry, the audience loved it. Thus, comedy legends were born. Now, while the brothers credit their mother for getting them into show business, it was Minnie's brother, Abraham Schoenberg, known as Al Sheen on stage, who they credit for giving them their stage personas. Al Sheen became a mildly successful vaudeville performer and was a member of the more successful duo Gallagher and Sheen.
Say, Mr. Gallagher. Hello? Mr. Gallagher. Yes. Who was the lady that I saw you with last night? That's a secret.
And so the boys honed their personas and their skills on vaudeville for years. Gummo left the act early on to fight in World War I and didn't look back, saying anything is better than being an actor. Until 1924, when the Marx Brothers had their first Broadway show, I'll Say She Is, after which the brothers never went back to vaudeville. They did 3 Broadway shows, I'll Say She Is, The Cocoanuts, and Animal Crackers. The latter 2 were adapted into the Marx Brothers' first 2 films, and while I'll Say She Is was never filmed, it survives in a few different ways. In 1931, Paramount put out a compilation film called The House That Shadows Built. It never had a theatrical release. It was intended to showcase the studio's work for exhibitors, and the opening scene from I'll Say She Is was filmed for that. I highly recommend you go and watch this. It might be my favorite piece of Marx Brothers media. The wordplay, the one-liners, the chaos, it showcases each brother perfectly. If you have any interest in the Marx Brothers whatsoever, please go watch it. I love it.
Say, listen, what is the time?
Now, just a moment. Wait a minute. He might be crazy. Wait, I'll find out. You want to go on the stage? Crazy.
Also, there was an animated version of the Napoleon scene in Rankin & Bass's The Mad Comedians television special, and in 2016, there was a full off-Broadway production of the show that was pieced together by Noah Diamond. I'll leave links to all that stuff in the description. After the success of all 3 of the Marx Brothers Broadway outings, Hollywood came looking to cash in. They signed a contract with Paramount and made their first feature film, The Cocoanuts. There was a 1921 silent short called Humor Risk that is now lost. So, I'm not the one to find it. The Cocoanuts is about, if it has a plot at all, a struggling hotel during the Florida land boom of the 20s. Groucho runs the Hotel de Coconut.
Wages? You want to be wage slaves? Answer me that. No, of course not. Well, what makes wage slaves? Wages. I want you to be free.
Harpo and Chico have come to the hotel to rob wealthy patrons. Margaret Dumont's daughter wants to marry a man that Dumont thinks is too low class, and instead wants her to marry a man who is secretly a con man who's trying to steal her necklace. But none of that matters. This is just a chance to watch the Marx Brothers do their thing, and their thing is there. It is fully formed in this film. But everything is a little stilted, a little stagey, a lot of which can maybe be attributed to the early sound technology. Everyone seems just a little uncomfortable being on camera. The brothers aren't firing on all cylinders like they will be in subsequent films. There are still some great bits, like when Groucho gets Chico to drive out the bids at his land auction, but he continuously outbids everyone.
Who'll say 300? 400. 400. Do I hear 5? $500. $500. Sold to this gentleman. $600. $700. $700. Sold to this gentleman. $800. Do I hear 9? Do I hear 9? You hear 9, you'll hear 10. $500. I hear 10, you'll hear plenty.
There's also some nice door slamming chaos as the brothers are running from the police and each other as they go in and out of 2 connecting hotel rooms. If you're a diehard Marx Brothers fan, you have to see the Cocoanuts, but I wouldn't recommend this be your first exposure. Supposedly, when the brothers were shown a final cut of the film, they were horrified and tried to buy the negative back from Paramount so that the film would never be released, and I understand why. If you know what the Marx Brothers can do, this is not the best representation of that, but for a wider audience who had never seen the brothers on stage, I'm sure this was a revelation. Luckily, Paramount released the film, and it was a big box office hit. Unfortunately, Minnie Marx would pass away from a stroke not long after the release of the film in 1929, but her influence on the Marx Brothers would be remembered, and her legacy would live on. In 1970, there would be a musical written about the Marx Brothers and their relationship with their mother called Minnie's Boys. Following the success of the Cocoanuts, the brothers starred in an adaptation of their third and final stage show, Animal Crackers. And wow, what a difference between these 2 films. Again, the plot is secondary, but the film opens with the return of Captain Spaulding, the African explorer. Did someone call him Schnorrer? Played by Groucho and his assistant, played by Zeppo. They're arriving for a party hosted by Mrs. Rittenhouse, played by Margaret Dumont, for the unveiling of a valuable painting. The painting is swapped and stolen, and there's a B-plot with 2 lovers. It doesn't matter. This movie, directed by Victor Heerman, knows how to showcase the Marx Brothers, giving them each their own distinct and hilarious entrances. I can't talk about this film without me turning into Chris Farley in that one SNL sketch with Paul McCartney. So all I will say is that every interaction between Groucho and Chico is perfect in this film, and when they first meet might be the highlight for me.
What do you fellas get an hour?
Oh, for playing, we get $10 an hour.
I see. What do you get for not playing?
$12 an hour.
Well, clip me off a piece of that.
Now, for rehearsing, we make special rate. That's $15 an hour.
That's for rehearsing?
That's for rehearsing.
And what do you get for not rehearsing?
You couldn't afford it.
One thing I never knew and found out while looking into the making of this film was that because Groucho wasn't able to film during the painting theft scene, it was rewritten to be a blackout, and Zeppo is playing Captain Spaulding.
Well, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to take a nap. Leave me a call for 3 o'clock. Make it 3:30.
Apparently, everyone agreed that Zeppo was the funniest brother in real life. Who would have suspected? Zeppo. Not me. I have a lot of nostalgia for this film because it was my introduction to the Marx Brothers, but it still might be the best of their feature films. If you haven't seen it, stop everything, go watch it. This is actually the first video in what I hope will be a deeper dive into the history of the Marx Brothers as I make my way through all of their films. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Click that like button and maybe subscribe if you want to follow me as I watch mostly classic films, and I'll see you next week.